Coulter. How you doing?
Fantastic. How are you, Mark Simone? Incidentally, Adios America isn't just a border crisis. It's about legal immigration.
Well, yes, but immigration, of course, the big issue, and I think the best book on the subject. If you want.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Hey,
I assume you want to talk about Cohen.
Well, there was a bombshell in his testimony because these Democrats spent months telling us no one is closer to Trump than Cohen, and that he's the go-between between Moscow and Trump. Well, he testified. He just said under oath, I saw no evidence of Russian collusion. So isn't that it? Case closed?
There's just this Russian collusion thing. It's as if they're trying to convince us the world is flat. Not only that, part of his big showstopper evidence was that he overheard Roger Stone calling Trump and saying he was trying to get through to WikiLeaks, and WikiLeaks had something coming. The obvious point of which, if anyone in the campaign, particularly the president himself, wow, wonder what WikiLeaks has. What do they have? Obviously, they did not have a direct line to Russian intelligence. You don't call up WikiLeaks hoping for scraps from the table. And, one other thing that is kind of important, these Elliot Nesses on the Democrat side trying to enforce the most preposterous, or acts like, this is an impeachable crime, a campaign finance violation, which, as you will see in Resistance, is futile. It's absolutely absurd, their argument. They have to prove that Trump knew, with his fine legal mind and attention to detail, that it would be a campaign finance violation to pay hush money. Paying hush money isn't a crime, of course. They're claiming this is a reporting violation, but also that to make it a campaign violation, the crucial, I think, the heart of the matter is that the only reason he would pay that money was to con the voters into thinking he was a man of great moral rectitude, which I believe was not really his profile. That wasn't why people voted for him, and not because, he didn't want Melania to know. He didn't want his grandkids to know. He thought it would hurt his brand. There's absolutely no way this could possibly be a campaign finance violation. That's all you're going to hear about from these lunatics for the next week. But meanwhile, while they want, this ridiculous jaywalking charge would be more impressive, this ridiculous campaign finance violation treated like, it's the law, it's the law. Basically, all of Cohen's testimony is a violation of a rather sacred legal privilege, the attorney-client privilege.
Yeah.
I really am stunned that no one's mentioning that. Their argument is, there's a crime, I assume, there's a crime fraud exception. Yeah, except there was no crime. And their only evidence of the crime is Cohen breaching the attorney-client privilege to call it a crime.
Yeah, but on the other hand, he wasn't really Donald Trump's lawyer. Donald Trump had great lawyers, top lawyers, and then nobody's ever asked him, he's a very litigious guy. How come every time he sued, every time he took a legal action, you were never the lawyer on it? Nobody's ever asked him that.
Well, I must say, I hope you're right about that, but as watching this guy, I don't know if you've had this feeling come over you when pursuing our favorite hobby, watching MSNBC. Whenever I see that snarling, spitting, and not particularly bright Steve Schmidt, I think even less of John McCain. And that wasn't a high bar to begin with. I do kind of look at Michael Cohen and think, what on earth was Trump doing employing this guy?
Well, because all billionaires have a guy like this. Because when you got to pay off the mistress or the porn star, you don't bring in Mark Kazowitz. You don't bring in the top lawyers on this. You give it to this guy to handle.
Trump isn't my favorite person right now.
No, really?
But I'm sorry, I don't believe the Stormy Daniels story. She was claiming she had sex with him one time. That's the big affair, and Playboy Bunny claims it was a few more times than that. And yet, he was a very famous man and a very rich man. Neither of them have one scintilla of piece of evidence. Nothing at all. Not a link, not a phone message, not a text. Not a spoon from the coffee with his DNA on it. Not a speck of evidence. Give me a break, Mark Simone. I could date someone once and produce proof.
Oh, yeah. Well, more about that later. But the Stormy Daniels thing, to a lot of people, they said, ooh, it's so seedy. But this looks like the Duke and Duchess of Windsor now compared to Bob Kraft with his strip mall drive-through massage parlor.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, there's 200 names on this list in Palm Beach coming out. You think we'll recognize 50 of them?
No, I don't. We'll recognize a few names like Bob Kraft and maybe Harvey Weinstein, but no, I don't think any of my friends in Palm Beach are going to show up on any of these lists. It would be nice. I mean, one interesting thing, I may write about this next week. Obviously, I think I'll write it. When did I write my column for tonight? It's on the Cohen testimony. Yes, I wrote it yesterday. And how can I do that?
Yeah.
Because their arguments have not changed. There was a brief fleeting moment last night before they printed his testimony where I thought, oh my gosh, what if I'm wrong and this isn't all going to be what I think he's going to say? And then I remembered, no, I've been watching this coverage for 2 years. They have not come up with a new argument. There is nothing new about Trump. We just have to hear the same things over and over and over again. But I may be thinking, I may write about the Jeffrey Epstein case soon. Something conservatives were pushing at the time. Epstein, big Democratic donor, being defended by Alan Dershowitz, flying Bill Clinton around on his plane. Now the left has suddenly decided that the only interesting fact about Jeffrey Epstein, pederast, in case you're unfamiliar with the case, pederast given a slap on the wrist by the Democratic DA, is now the sole attribute of interest was that he was, before this story broke, a member of Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah. But hey, I go back to the bombshell that Cohen testified to, because they all been telling you no one's closer to Trump, and he was the go-between between Moscow and Trump. He has testified today under oath he saw no evidence of collusion. You think Rachel Maddow said, wow, get that clip, we're going to run that on the opening tonight. You'll never hear that quoted.
Though I did know, when I was explaining to one of my friends before the testimony came out last night, what I just told you, that, oh my gosh, what if he does have something all new, and I'm flying today, I don't have time to write a new column, I've already drafted what I'm going to say about his testimony because I know what he's going to say. So I had that moment of fear, and then I said to my friend who isn't sick like you and I are and doesn't watch MSNBC obsessively, I told him, no, I know it's going to be the same thing. I know it's going to be the same thing. It's the same thing every night. It's not the end. It's the beginning of the end. That's a big one. It's the beginning of the end. Trump's worst week ever. What's the other big one they use all the time?
Well,
anyway, we're still talking. I glanced at the TV and I said, guess what the chyron is? A big sign on Rachel Maddow. It's the beginning of the end.
Well, yeah, bombshell testimony. So this guy's just basically the Michael Wolff of 2019.
No, it's worse than that. I mean, Wolf had a really fun book, and I think most of it was true. I guess the most important point about this, and I think Republicans, as usual, are being it's amazing we win anything with these guys. But, you know, the big thing, Mark Meadows, no, not Mark Meadows, I forget who it was, somebody asking him, isn't this because, are you working in the White House? Oh, well, you didn't get a job in the White House. Number one, I don't think anyone after the last 2 years thinks that working in the Trump White House is some sort of Xanadu. Point two, come on, we know what's going on here. Cohen was caught dead to rights on a slew of serious felonies, bank fraud, cheating the IRS, big fat felonies that are going to land him in prison. The prosecutors could get him to testify that he was a Martian. That he's doing this as part of his plea bargain. That's what is interesting about this. Not that, you didn't get to work in the White House. Oh, that's so retarded.
Well, I hate to say we're out of time, but everybody get Ann Coulter's book. The latest one is her best. Resistance is Futile. You can get the new column. Go to AnnCoulter.com. Follow her on Twitter. But just go to AnnCoulter.com. You can see everything there. And follow her on Facebook and Instagram. And Ann Coulter, thanks for being with us.
Good to talk to you, Mark Simone. Bye-bye.